What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Games Jester Ethan Rodriguez, and today we are talking about the 3 to 5 player game Cryptid. So Cryptid is a neat little deduction game where players are kind of trying to puzzle out where the cryptid or the mystical creature that they're all chasing is. So it's a little abstract, but it's got kind of a neat theme on it. So we'll talk about that more later. Let me first show you how the game plays, and then we'll come back here for those final thoughts. Here we go. Okay, here I have set up a 3 player game of Cryptid. To begin the game, you will, of course, decide on the number of players that you have, and then you will select one of these cards to use for the setup. These cards, there's a whole deck of them, come in 2 varieties. There are the white cards, which are basically the easy cards, and then the black cards, which are the more advanced cards. Each card will tell you the books that the players will need to read and the numbers on those particular books that they'll need to read the line on to get their clue. So in a 3 player game, 1 player will read 17 in the A book, 11 in the Y book, 66 in the E purple book. In a 4 player game, they'll read a different number, so each card is very different, can be used for multiple games, and there's a ton of these, so it's kind of amazing how many different puzzles they made. So you'll set up the board based on the back of the card. On the back of the card here, you'll see there is some topography here. You've got the 6 big tiles that can be placed on the board, and they will be rearranged. Sometimes they'll be vertical, sometimes they'll be, I'm not vertical, they're always going to be thing this way, but they might be turned so they're upside down in different configurations. You'll also have some of these objects here on the board, these abandoned shacks, and these standing stones. In the beginner games, there's only 3 colors in the game. In the advanced game, you'll bring in the 4th color, which may be placed on the board based on the setup. Also, each player is going to get a number of discs and cubes. Discs mean when you place out that the cryptid or the creature that we're all searching for could be on the particular place. The cubes mean it could not be. All right, and so again, you'll set those up. Everybody will get their books. These books have the clues in them. So in the example we had, the person with the A book needed to read 17. So their clue says the cryptid is within 2 spaces of cougar territory. And the other players would secretly read their clues, and then we're ready to begin the game. So you'll pick a first player, and the first player will actually to seed the board first. Everybody will place out some cubes as to where the cryptid could not be. I believe it's 2 per person. Then you'll start. So on your turn, you're simply going to either select a space and question 1 person, or select a space and search there. So for example, if I was to select this space and the cryptid based on my clue could be there, I may need to want to see what maybe Sally or Bob, the 2 other players, what they can tell me based on their clue. So if I go here and I say, hey, Bob or Sally, can the cryptid be in this location? Based on their individual clue, they will either need to answer yes by putting a disc in that spot, or no by putting a cube in that spot. Okay, they don't need to tell me why it can or cannot be there, just that it either can or cannot. If there's a disc placed, the turn ends, and then the next player in clockwise order will go, and they can move the pawn anywhere else they want to and ask a question. However, if a cube is ever placed out, then the active player who questioned or searched will need to reciprocate by also placing a cube in a spot where the cryptid could not be based on the clues that were given. So that's one action you can do. The other action is you can search. When you search, you will first place a disc representing that the cryptid can in fact be in that spot. So you can only search in places that are valid for your clue. Then, going clockwise around the table, the next player will need to decide if they can place a cube or a disc. If it gets all the way around and everybody puts a disc, then you win, you have found the cryptid. If, however, while going around the room, just 1 person puts a cube, every player after that person does not need to respond to the search, and then the active player will again need to reciprocate by placing their own cube out. You can never have 2 of your pieces in the same place. So if I'd already put a cube here, I could not put another cube there, or disc, obviously, because there would be a cube there already, meaning it could not be there. Also, Let's talk a little bit about the kind of topography here. You've got 5 land types: water, mountain, forest, swamp, and desert. There are cougar territories in the red solid lines, bear territories in the dashed lines, and then there are the objects, the standing stones, and the abandoned shack. These clues are all printed on the backs of each of the books, and they can be in the base game just kind of exactly what's here, but in the advanced game, they could be the opposite. So, for example, one of the clues you might get is the cryptid is on a forest or desert. In the advanced game or the base game, that could be true. In the advanced rules, you're going to see some like the cryptid is not on forest or desert. But this breaks down every possibility that there could possibly be in the game, and so this is a great resource for players to use. And it also has all the topography on the bottom. And it here talks about inverse clues in the advanced mode, which is again just the inverse of this. So all of this reversed or inversed is all the possible outcomes. So players are trying to deduce based on the clues that they're asking or giving and getting where possibly the cryptid could be. The puzzles are made so that the cryptid can only be in one particular location. If the players get stumped, there are some hints that can be given. Like here in the 3-player game on this particular map, you could go to page 6 in the main game, and it would have that hint in there. So here, example, no within 2 spaces clues are in the game. All right, so that may help you or may not. And that's basically it. It's a very simple setup, play, ton of variety, ton of different puzzles you can play. And so let me go back up top and kind of tell you what I think about it. Last thing I will mention actually is the cryptid is never going to be where these objects are, so there's no point in searching there. Usually within spaces is going to be 0 is the space that it's in, and then things out. So this is important for like the territory. So within 2 spaces of cougar territory could mean here, but it could also mean here, because that's 1, 2. 0, 1, 2. But again, the cryptid is never going to be in the space where the objects actually are, if that helps you. So let's go back up top, and I'll tell you what I think about it. All right, there you go. That's how to play. Let's talk about it. So like I said in the beginning, it's a very neat theme. Now, do I feel the game is that thematic? No. It's pretty abstract. It could have been just literally like here's some clues based on colors and shapes and find the where is X. It could have been like a treasure map theme or something else. But the cryptid theme is kind of unique. So I'll give it kudos for uniqueness, but is it thematic? No. It's ultimately like an abstract deduction game. The production is functional. So again, maybe like like a different theme would have maybe like treasure map. Or again, I'm going to that. It could have been anything, but maybe a little better artwork would have been cooler. The shapes and the colors have to be functional because of how important they are. It's important to know, okay, this is the mountain area, this is the desert, this is the swamps. Knowing that topography along with the shapes, they're just triangles and little cylinders. They make sense and they have to be functional. They just don't look great. They don't look bad. They just kind of look average. So the game is not like the most beautiful game in the world. If you're at a convention and somebody's walking by, they're probably not going to be like, oh, what's that game they're playing? It's just kind of going to look like a bunch of hexes with wooden pieces on it, which we've seen in all kinds of games like Kingdom Builder or Winter Kingdom. And I mean, there's a billion games, not really, but there's a lot of games with hexes and wooden pieces. So it's not going to look that unique, but it's again functional. So I would say it's average. I do like that they have the 5 books, and they also have some app integration with this. So I haven't really tried that, but in the rules, basically, it tells you can get the app, and it'll tell you the clues there, and you don't really have to even use the book. So that's kind of cool. The rules are pretty good. There's a couple things I thought was weird that were missing. So maybe it's just the one thing. Could not find anywhere where it says if you would need to place a cube, but you don't have any left, what do you do? And maybe that's just me, and maybe I missed it. If you know where it's at, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And it doesn't happen that often that you run out. I mean, it really only happens if someone maybe messed up and broke a rule and we can't really figure it out where they're at. It's only happened a few times. Most of the time, you'll find it a few turns in. If everybody's kind of looking at the clue book, it does suggest you can write things down if you want. You don't really do that, but if you're looking through your clues, you probably won't run out. And if everybody's kind of using their brain, To the best of its ability, you'll probably figure it out. But in case you do, because someone accidentally messed up or it's really stumping everybody, no one can figure it out, there's really no rules of clarity on what to do there. So I thought that was a little weird. Also, there's only 2 actions, but you will hear this a lot in my reviews. Player rates. I just feel like maybe they should be there, and they might actually be on the rules. I'm gonna look at that now, but or on those little books on the back. And if they are, then there you go. That's good. Um, yeah, I mean it tells you player responses, doesn't tell you what to do, but still, yeah, just maybe some nice little play rates would have been cool. But these are actually really good because they tell you all the clues and all the topography. That's nice. So I'm not going to ding it too much there. The gameplay is where it shines. It's a really, really good deduction game. There is a ton of cards in here, and right from the first seeding of the game with the initial cubes that you place out, you can already start making some inferences based on, or hypotheses based on what they've done. So, okay, Jack put his cube here and here. His clue is either this or it's that based on what I can see on the back. Or, maybe he's just tricking me with putting them all over the mountains, coincidentally next to a standing stone because it needs to be next to the stone. The mountain is inconsequential. There's all kinds of that going on in the game, especially when players are trying to give their not where it's at clues. They're really trying to mislead the other players. So you kind of don't want to follow too many of the obvious things. You want to start thinking more holistically of not only is it in a mountain, it is within 3 squares of this shape, and maybe not even just the shape, it's within 2 squares or hexes of this particular color. So there's lots of things to think about there, and you just can't wait till it gets back to your turn. You're looking, and everybody's taking their turns, especially if they're not engaging you with their questions. You're like waiting, okay, cool, that's good information for me. Ooh, I think I know where it's at. And you go and you're like, I'm searching here. Okay, I got it. I didn't get it. Dang it. Like those are fun moments because it immediately like, what did I do wrong? I gotta recalculate, and now I'm like, please nobody get it before it gets back to my turn. And so I love that kind of intense feeling that it gives you, and I love the puzzle of it. It's ultimately what it is. It's a very cool little deduction puzzle game, and it does it really well. So time-wise, it's really quick. You could probably play in an hour, definitely 2 games, maybe 3 if you're lucky. It does say on the box here 30 to 50 minutes. I think it's a little long. 50, maybe 5 players. I don't know though. I don't know because there's a lot of cubes going all over the board. So probably I don't think the player count really makes that big a difference in the time. I've only played it 3 and 4 player though, so I could be wrong. But yeah, it's just quick. I mean, turns go quite quick, and maybe there's some AP like when it's coming down to the very end, and you're like, this may be my last chance, especially in a large player count game, before it goes all the way back around and someone's going to know where they're at. So I really need to make this guess count. I got to rethink on my clues, and if you're not writing anything down, it's a lot of mental note taking. So you can write things down if you want to. It says so in the rules. We just don't. It's not that high stakes a game, but you're going through all your calculations, you're looking at it, and that might bog it down a little bit. But again, I think that's bringing you to the 30-minute mark. Past that, I don't see it really happening. So again, you can play a couple in an hour, or maybe just play it once as a filler and move on to the next game. Then I think it's really good. And the setup's not that hard. It's 6 tiles, like 6 pieces, and that's it. And you just orient them the way they're supposed to be, put it the little pieces, and you're done. Or maybe it's 8 pieces. Yeah, 8 pieces. And lastly, the variety. There's a ton of variety. It's not that there's not more to discover as far as gameplay mechanisms. It's the same 2 actions you're going to take, and your ultimate goal is the same: find the cryptid. The clues, there's nothing you're not going to see. They're all in the back of the book, and they're the inverses of each of those. So whatever's there, that's what the possible outcomes are. But the combinations of clues are different. And I don't know what algorithm they did or computer program they made to make this game, but it's really cool that there's so many different cards. Each card has 3 different puzzles on it, and there's a bunch of puzzles. So you can play the same card with 3 different groups, 3, 4, 5 players, and get a different outcome. And that's really neat. So yeah, I think ultimately this is a really, really good deduction game. Now, are there better lookers out there? I believe so. Is there better themed ones out there? Yeah, like I never tried it, but I really think that Treasure Island one looks cooler. Although that one's got more of a actual handwriting thing going on. I think this is much cleaner, and that's why it's in my collection currently. It's just a very clean, easy to get to the table deduction game. I've actually played this with my in-laws, and they enjoyed it. They don't play a lot of games with us, so I think anything that appeals to them is a great hit for me. My wife particularly loves it. I don't know what rating she would give it. She might give it like a 9 or 10. For me, it's a solid. I'm gonna say a solid 7 out of 10, maybe 8. Oh, I don't really give halves. I'm gonna go 7 for now. It's a really good deduction game. It's just not the greatest looker, um, but it's it does what it's supposed to do, and it's a good little filler game that you can play for a couple sessions, then move on to the big appetizer. And maybe that's why I'm also giving it like a 7. I like kind of more of the heavier games, more of the main entree games as opposed to the filler appetizers. But I think this is probably one of the better appetizers I've got. So for that sense, maybe I'll say an 8. So I'm waffling a lot. I guess final rating 7.5. Okay, so there you go. That's what I think about Cryptid. Um, Let me know what you think about it, if you played it, or if you have other deduction games that you think I should try. Let me know in the comments below. If you didn't like Cryptid, tell me why. If you did, tell me why. If you have any questions about the rules, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those if I didn't already in the overview. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, I've been the Games Adjuster, Ethan Rodriguez, and you have a great day.